On this final night of the DNC, the fight over voting itself continues. Democrats clearly have Trump on defense over his plot to undercut the Postal Service, which may be a linchpin for any pandemic election, people voting from afar. The Postmaster General, as you probably know from covering the story, has been walking back restrictions that could impact ballots and face a grilling in Congress tomorrow. But Trump's plotting against the USPS actually started years ago, and it relates back to this.
Don, through an intermediary, approached me and said, would you be interested in buying the Washington Post? And I was very surprised.
Now, what does that have to do with the post office crisis? Well, on the eve of the postmaster's crucial congressional testimony, right now we're going to take you into how Donald Trump may have set himself up to both undermine this election with the post office, but also get caught. And this goes back to before he even knew what he wanted to do with voting by mail, before he saw these signs he was trailing Biden. What I'm about to present to you in our new reporting is an installment of our special backstory report, where we try to provide you with substantive accounts about one key figure in the presidential campaign and move the punditry or horse race coverage to the side. Now, this is obviously important because it goes to the election itself. It goes back farther than voting by mail or even the Republican effort to privatize many parts of government. It begins with billionaire Jeff Bezos. The Amazon founder and owner of the Washington Post has clashed with Trump for years. Now, Bezos says he cares about excellence, and the Washington Post cares about facts. But for Trump, it may be about the Benjamins, given his long-running and petty feuds with people richer than him, plus the shots at Trump about how he's not as wealthy as they are, or as he claims. Even comics have openly mocked Trump about it in comparison to the Amazon founder.
Trump is jealous because Jeff Bezos is actually a billionaire.
Actually a billionaire. And that's not all. Now, Bezos says he does not make the specific editorial calls at the Post, but he does back the paper's independence. So think about when its editorial board published this piece titled "Trump is a Poison Pill for the Republican Party" back in 2015 when he was struggling. Well, Trump took the fight all the way up to the top, responding within days, slamming Bezos and basically going at him. But then the Washington Post owner clapping back with the hashtag #SendDonaldToSpace. Donald Trump didn't like any of that. He ultimately confessed to his improper motives, just like he has in this new post office fight. Now, maybe people weren't taking this seriously at the time, but it is so important now because Donald Trump went out and said what even most authoritarians deny, what Richard Nixon never admitted in public. Donald Trump confessing that he intended to abuse his power in office as president to retaliate against Bezos because he was an opponent, threatening Bezos on the campaign trail.
He wants political influence so that Amazon will benefit from it. That's not right. And believe me, if I become president, oh, do they have problems. They're going to have such problems.
They're going to have such problems. Now, what does this have to do with the post office? Well, for Trump, it's not usually about public policy where a leader just thinks, how does this impact everyone and what's the best policy? You know the drill. It's about him. The resources, even the safety of American interests become a tool for his personal agenda. So when Amazon and the Postal Service had a deal, President Trump didn't like it because of his beef with Bezos. And he admitted it. He complained that the USPS was now Amazon's delivery boy, and then tried to spin it into some sort of effort to protect the taxpayer.
The post office is losing billions of dollars, and the taxpayers are paying for that money because it delivers packages for Amazon at a very below cost. And that's not fair to the United States. It's not fair to our taxpayers. And Amazon has the money to pay the fair rate at the post office, which would be much more than they're paying right now.
It wasn't just bluster. Trump took suspicious actions that might be an abuse of power and that which were exposed by, wait for it, the Washington Post, reporting that Trump pressed the Postmaster General at that time to hike rates against Amazon in secret White House meetings, which were kept off the public schedule. Does any of this sound familiar? A president secretly demands a top official join his scheme to abuse federal power for the president's interests? That's what the evidence showed Trump demanded of FBI Director Comey and his replacement McCabe, and other prosecutors and key officials. We discussed that throughout tonight's show. And we all know now what happens when they refuse. So whether you remember this particular story or not, you can imagine the impact when this postmaster at the time refused and fact-checked Trump by explaining that actually Amazon's big business was beneficial for the Postal Service. Well, we all know how that goes in Trump world. He told aides he wanted to fire the postmaster. Then he went on to install 3 of his own picks onto its board of governors, which appoints the postmaster. The White House, for its part, denies any of this is about the Amazon feud, but Trump also pushing things along himself. He issued, remember this? This was an executive order, little noticed at the time, for a task force to consider the plan to go at the Amazon relationship, but they found Trump was also wrong. They found that the Amazon relationship was actually profitable. Those are the facts, but Donald Trump admitted his goal was to get Bezos. It wasn't about those facts. Taxpayer stuff looks like a cover story. So even when his own folks fact-checked him on that, Trump pressed on, threatening to defund the post office, which has been losing money for years and was going to run out of money this year. And he said he was going to hold them over that barrel if they didn't go after his enemy, Amazon.
The Postal Service is a joke because they're handing out packages for Amazon and other internet companies, and every time they bring a package, they lose money on it. If they don't raise the price, I'm not signing anything.
Now, the post office eventually got the money. The Treasury Secretary worked behind the scenes on Trump's agenda. An ethics organization even got a letter from the secretary to the board. This was in 2019, pushing Trump's mission to hike the Amazon rate, saying it's important USPS prices service a profitable manner, including the e-commerce ground packaging delivery market, a.k.a. Amazon, and adding, the second request concerns the search for the next Postmaster General. I'd appreciate being kept apprised of the progress. As this ground on, sometimes behind the scenes, you have to take it in and look at the context in this voter clash, because just like Trump tried to punish a different journalistic outlet that he sees as an enemy, CNN, by abusing federal power over mergers, he wanted to break it out into a larger company. He even got involved in an antitrust case, the DOJ, filing legal arguments when it was not a party. And that was trying to go after CNN. Now, why does this all matter? What is going on here? Well, Congress and the courts care a lot about whether there are just budget cuts at the post office or this is a political plot, a potentially unconstitutional one. And that takes you to who Trump's trying to get to carry it out. The new Postmaster General, who oversees these operations and is appointed by that board I mentioned, which Trump filled with his folks. Now, at the time, the postmaster was Megan Brennan, a career employee who worked her way up from a letter carrier, and she had started a 5-year term in 2014, which brings you up to 2020, which brings us to this new controversial Postmaster General, Louis DeJoy, who rushed in those changes we've been reporting on and started telling states maybe they won't deliver the ballots in time. Now, under pressure from Pelosi, he has reversed course publicly. And I'm telling you about this tonight because he testifies tomorrow at a Senate hearing that could be key to protecting your vote this cycle. Now, who is he? And why is he the one Trump wants in power? Well, like Bezos, he's very rich, a billionaire CEO who helped fund next week's RNC convention, donating $1 million to Trump, opening his own home to Trump in 2016. And then after he became president, they had eye-popping ticket prices, $15,000. And that money helped to build power because DeJoy turned from critic to Trump appointee. In fact, take a look at this. A Little Scene local news article from back in 2004 quotes this Postmaster General, then a citizen at the time, slamming Trump's leadership style. I'd be fired. That attitude that you're the most important person is self-destructive. Well, boy, did he change his tune to get in line for this job. Now he says Trump's doing great. And he talked up the notion of Trump's deep state, which is ironic for someone campaigning to get a job in the federal bureaucracy, telling donors about Donald Trump battling unreasonable challenges and ticking off several, including, quote, many of the federal employees of the agencies of the executive branch. And then there was DeJoy with a choice seat on the platform for Trump's inauguration. You can see there how close he was. And that required lots of work from those federal employees. He even got a shout out from Trump at an event earlier this year.
And we have many other state and local leaders from all across North Carolina. We're thrilled to have you all here. Lewis is around someplace. Where's Lewis? Lewis DeJoy, thank you very much.
And at a time right now when Donald Trump's under fire for corruption, I want to walk through the evidence of the pay-to-play here because it goes beyond the mail. Trump pushed DeJoy for a different key financial post, but he wasn't yet confirmed. He also pushed his wife for a fellowship vice chair post at the White House, then nominated her as U.S. ambassador to Canada. It's a big job, and that's also pending before the Senate that will grill her husband tomorrow over an alleged plot to steal the election. So there's a lot of scrutiny on DeJoy right now when he goes in to face this grilling. People in both parties saying he should be questioned under oath with the criminal liability that can carry on all of the background we told you about and on the election plot and on his qualifications. In fact, DeJoy is the first Postmaster General in 20 years to come in with no post office experience. His financial dealings could come under scrutiny as well, as they probably should, holding millions of dollars in a company that does business with the post office, a major conflict of interest. And senators will, of course, press him on the changes he made that he now claims are being reversed that slow down the mail processing and could put voters in, yes, 46 states at risk of not having ballots counted if they send them through the mail. Now, why? Why would he have made all those changes in the first place? Many skeptical that he's even going to reverse them if everyone moves on to other topics. And there are new reports that say mail sorting machines that have been removed might not be reinstalled, which means it's not back to a fair baseline. Some of the damage may even be irreversible. The LA Times today reporting some post office facilities have become like an Armageddon, workers falling so far behind that gnats and rodents swarming around containers of rotten fruit and meat from the mail, baby chicks dead inside their boxes, and all for what? Don't just look at what they say. The heart of this plot is about Donald Trump going in, not just in those public things we showed you, although we want you to see the evidence, but these secret requests to abuse his federal power, whether it's the post office or other agencies, for his personal and political gain. Everyone needs to keep their eye on the ball because this isn't about left or right or who wins. It is about making sure the election for who wins is fair in a democracy. And senators tomorrow may also want to take a look at what we've been reporting here, that Donald Trump apparently wanted to use and abuse this power over the post office for something that also relates to the election, targeting the owner of one of the papers that's done some of the most tough investigative reporting on him, the Washington Post, who he also has this personal feud with as a billionaire, Jeff Bezos. We're going to keep reporting on these issues and keep our eye on the ball. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.